Yeah, anyway. This is ASHEBORO Undecided. And we are here with Mr. Marshall Alexander. Got Shad the Fisherman over here. What would you like to go by?
Camera B.
Camera B. Camera B behind the camera.
He's went by a few different names. You know.
Most people call me Brandon, but call me Camera B on here.
He said, yeah, okay.
I like it.
Camera B, all right. And we're going to talk about Reckon So, which is your second studio album, solo studio album.
Yep.
And just go into the Reckon So, the name.
All right, yeah, the name. So this is the second studio album. It came out 5 years ago, which is 2017, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it came out 5 yees ago. Reckon So's play on words, you know, from the South. My family's always said, you know, you want to go to the movies? Like, well, I reckon so. And so, you know, R-E-C-K-O-N, Reckon So, and then broke it down to a Reckon So. And if you see the back of it, it's actually split up into two halves. There's Rec and So. And now a big thing was where I was at right there at that point in my music career was I had come up, and I don't mean come up because I really still wasn't anything, but I had created a little bit of a buzz in the Charlotte underground scene, and then I had stepped back for multiple years, and I just lost momentum, you know, essentially, and stepped back. And so I was kind of making this album. I was like, you know, something that has always interested me is, say, like, a lot of times you have to destroy to rebuild. And so that was a big thing. It was like, I'm going to wreck, you know, the music scene, wreck my old persona, whatever, and then sow the seeds of a new beginning. And so that was kind of what it was like. The first track on it is called Too Aggressive, and on that I'm talking about like the reasons why maybe I'm not being picked up, things like that. It's like I'm too aggressive for the radio, which was kind of a nod to my older style. Because I came up, my first album was called 7 Day Project, but I came up like with a very kind of in-your-face, aggressive style. My initial, like honestly, when I first started doing rap music, I was more like getting my influence from stuff like Rage Against the Machine, new metal, like you know, Linkin Park, kind of things like that. I wasn't like deep into the hip hop at that time, so it was more rock based, more in your face, passionate type of lyricism. But and that Too Aggressive, that first track, kind of goes into that. It's kind of a nod to that, and then I start going from there basically. And what's funny is it's 5 years old before, you know, that was pre Little Dicky going off. And I got some songs in there that like sound like Little Dicky wrote them. I used to be, when I was on tour,
he owes you money.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking about this earlier today, because there was Little Dicky, and then now it's Young Gravy. Young Gravy's in that same kind of lane. And so like this is 5 years ago. Young Gravy's in that he's in that Little Dicky lane where he's like he's talented, but he's got humor to it, and he's like, you know, white dude with a curly afro. He's into he's like your mama's, you know, all this stuff. And so it's just funny because this was 5 years pre Little Dicky's blow up, and I was sitting there doing some songs like that. Pre what country rap became.
Right.
And, you know, the only person who was really on the map doing country rap back then was Yellow Wolf. And he wasn't pure country rap. He just had country elements in his rap music. Jelly Roll was, but I mean, Jelly Roll was... Nobody knew Jelly Roll 5 years ago. Nobody. No.
We did, because we did...
Exactly. We did some shows with him and stuff. Wow. But nobody knew him, and I've got some of that. It's just... It's interesting listening back to that, because I'm like, damn, like... That was before a lot of that came out. But if you handed that to someone today, they'd probably be like, oh, this is like Lil Dicky.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like, you know, because I got some of those elements in there.
Right.
So
I like that on the actual CD that you can see the breakdown, because you didn't, you could get on Apple Music, you listen to it on there, it doesn't give you the breakdown where it says after the skit, it's so,
Right.
which makes so much sense.
right.
So I'm looking, it says you got your production credit on Too Aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
so you made that beat.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. I
Nice.
did that instrumental.
All right, so I didn't know this. This is the first time I've got my hands on a actual physical copy of it, so this is good.
Yeah, I
Definitely
did
love
that.
physical copies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
too.
just like you just alluded to. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't get that
Mhm.
on a
Yeah.
digital download, and I mean,
Yeah, when these are what I call tour versions. I had whole jewel cases, but when it was tour time and you wanted to consolidate as much as possible, that's where these sleeves came from. Because I miss jewel cases, like this wonderful one right here. You have an inside sleeve.
yeah,
You have all this extra customization you can do to it, which you can't do with those types of things.
right.
But you can fit a ton more of those
Yeah.
in a box than you can.
Yeah.
You'll
know,
be
so-
on the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when they tell you, you are limited to 2 totes, you
Yeah.
figure out a way to make that work.
Yeah.
So, but that's what those are.
Right.
Dang, I didn't know they had like limits on totes.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spatial limits. You can have. I was 1 bag 2 totes. That was what I was allowed to have. 1 bag and 2 totes, and I negotiated that. I negotiated
Whoa.
up to that. Yeah.
Hey,
Yep. So you learn how to consolidate stuff down for sure.
Makes amazing profit that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
also.
what you have, you got more products.
Mhm. Exactly.
So
And then Rec is more, I don't know, more kind of a in-your-face style. It's supposed to hit more like, like a destruction type of thing. And then So is a little more calm, for the most part. There's
Yeah.
some stuff in there that kind of doesn't exactly match that theme, but for the most part, the first side is more in-your-face, aggressive type of music, and then the second part is a little more calm.
So you kind of did it like a cassette tape.
Bingo.
Is that okay? Gotcha.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, see, this makes a lot more sense
Mhm.
to me, and I've known you since before you made this,
Yeah.
and I just haven't got a chance to look at it. And I'm guessing the Cocky Little Freak is one of the ones you're saying is a little bit
Yeah.
more,
Yep.
more aggressive than the So part.
Right. Right.
And I remember Whiskey and Lies. That was a
Mhm.
fun one to shoot.
Yep.
I like Seagram's and Sundrop. I like this one a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Have we talked about that before?
No.
Okay.
No. We talked about Oh Girl the skit
Uh-huh.
last
Oh,
time.
yeah, last time.
And
Yeah.
that's what really got me into the mode of the GP Woo and the Last Night.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
one, and just like I think it was so hip hop to have that on there. And then just I wanted to ask about your, we already went to the first one with you making the beats.
Mhm.
Did you go to certain people for the rest of the production, or did you, was this some of the time period that you went to, get stuff off the internet?
Most of it was that. Most of it was shopping catalogs, things like that. Some of it was more direct. Cocky Little Freak, I know the producer of that. He's from Oklahoma, and he and I have done a few things together. Wreck and So, same thing. That's Fate Beats.
Okay.
So I've been keeping up with him for a long time. But a lot of them were, online type of shopping catalogs.
Right.
So it's honestly, now that I'm looking at it, it's about 50-50 actually,
Okay.
because I've got several on there where the producer could walk through that door right now and I wouldn't know him, and then there's another that I would invite to my wedding. So
Yeah.
it's 50-50
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, I know that was important to you because there was little to choose from when it came to performance
Yes.
type beats.
Yes.
What you wanted for your show, it was kind of lacking in the pool of producers, especially in North Carolina.
Right.
I remember having those conversations with you. Well, we got all these beats, but then the more I learned you, the more I was like, there's really nobody
Mhm.
around here at that time that could provide the type of beats you would want.
Right.
So I see, hindsight looking at like why you would have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully now there's more people around here
There is.
that can get to that
There is.
level.
But I've never had. I mean, I obviously I love working locally, but I've never had an issue. I've always enjoyed because going to different places for different instrumentals and things, especially on a name-to-name basis.
Yeah.
Whenever I can do that, I feel great about it. That's not always the case, obviously.
Exactly.
I have a question regarding that. Like, so when you go to somebody
Mm-hmm.
and you, as in the creating of that song or whatever verse, whatever within that song, do you go at it differently than when you go to a catalog beat? Do you work the song differently around it, or?
Not necessarily, honestly. Like Ty will tell you, when he and I were working on Breathing Process, he sent me a catalog of instrumentals.
Yeah.
It just, I knew them, and do I... No, I mean, honestly, no. And I tend to work, I hear an instrumental first, tend to work. Hear the instrumental first and then build a song around the instrumental.
Okay.
But there has been times where I, especially, it's a lot easier when you're making it yourself. You can have a song concept, maybe even lyrics, whatever,
Yeah.
and then work your instrumental around that. But typically, I hear the instrumental first, and then I build the song to the instrumental. I match the instrumental, which, I feel like most people probably work that way.
Mm.
But also what I have is a notepad in my phone where I have 10,000 ideas. And so you can hear something, like you can hear an instrumental that you've had, in your back pocket forever. And I recently did this. And also an idea for a song that you've had forever. And then one day going through your stuff, you're like, oh, that matches, something like that.
Nice.
But no, I mean, just because I know the producer, not necessarily. I mean, what was cool, so Long Way Down, Ambi?
Yeah, I remember.
That was produced by Ambi, Freedom Fighters Productions. He and I actually sat down and were able to tweak that instrumental, which is great. I do not have a lot of experience with that. Working with the producer and actually being able to tweak it. There's a fake ending to that song, and then it comes back in, which the only reason I was able to do that was because I was working with him directly. Like, he gave me the idea, and I was like, could you do this? Could we do this?
Yeah.
And built
That's
it
the
together.
beauty of collaboration.
Absolutely.
Too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful thing. Like, it's like the best you could ever ask for, because so, like, even around that time, stems weren't really a big thing.
Yep.
So the stems are like just different levels of the track.
Track
So
out.
here's the drums, here's the sample,
Yep.
Gotcha.
here's the the keys or the piano. So you got them all tracked out, which beforehand, like, technology moved so fast that it was like, it's just this.
Here's this
beat.
MP3.
Yeah, here's this MP3, and sometimes it'd be shitty low quality,
Yep.
Mm.
and then the producer would just lose the file, or a lot of times it would be on those big zip drives. And
Throwback.
yeah,
I remember
still,
those.
Still now, a lot of the MPCs and the drum machines, they still use that.
Yeah.
And the size is so limited that as soon as they send that beat off, they can delete it, and the whole thing is gone. So you can't go create it again. You can't tweak anything. You can't take this out of it. It's almost like
I wonder if that's by design, like to kind of keep.
I think it was like a learning curve.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty much like for producers to know, like, before they just thought that this is the beat, this is what the musician wants,
Right.
and I've got it to them.
Yeah.
Like, and then as technology comes across, and then you start going to the studio, you start watching an engineer see your vocals, and you're like, they could probably do the same shit with my beat, as they're doing this. So like, it's a big learning curve, I think. Because I've got, thousands of beats that are just MP3s from various producers, but I could never change that. I could never say, can you take that drum out? And it would make that beat so much better. Could you put this in?
Yeah.
And it would be really hard to do that. So that's the only one on here that was like that for you? Or
That's the only one on there that I was able to actually, honestly, that's the only one where I was able to to actively change certain ways and certain things and work with the producer directly on that. It's the only one. All the rest of them were full tracks. Now I might have cut them up, replaced some things here and there. Well, that and obviously in the one that I did.
Yeah.
I was able to mess around with that one. But those two, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Most of the rest of them, you have the instrumental, and you just put your stuff on there, basically. Yeah.
Now, was it intentional for you to put the one you produced right off the gate, or was that from the onset, or it just kind of worked out that way?
Yep, because like I said, that Too Aggressive was really, I mean, you got to listen to it, but like the hook is like, well, maybe you should try and rap a little slow. Well, I guess I'm too aggressive for the radio, and it's supposed to be like I'm on the phone with, because that's based on a true story. Like I was trying to get placement with my old songs on radio stations, and this was the kind of information I was given. You should, put a little swag in your flow, things like that, and so really that first track, that Too Aggressive, was a nod to my older music, and my older music, a lot of it was self-produced, and so it just made sense to make that the first track on there. Because it was a self-produced track, and so on and so forth. It actually was, I had originally wrote a song with that same instrumental, so that was actually I recycled that instrumental for Too Aggressive. Okay. It was a song called In My Head, and it was just about, mental illness and things. And so it really, I mean, my purpose for that was to make music that was a little more widely accepted, I guess, to get a little bit out of my comfort zone, and it worked. But yeah, that was always going to be the first track, because it's not even, honestly. Another big thing about that album is every song on that album are like full songs. Honestly, they could be singles by themselves. Most of them have bridges, which is super rare in hip hop today. Most of them have bridges, but Too Aggressive is just verse, hook, verse. And the first verse is like 8 bars. So it really was more like an intro song than an actual full-fledged song. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, my terminology might be a little funny to some people, because there's rap songs, and then there's like songs.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was really what I was doing with that album, was I was making a lot of songs.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's one thing I've really enjoyed about, I'm a little bit older than you, so I mean, I remember where hip hop and rap started, kind of, and then as it grew into the 2000s and whatnot, I've really enjoyed to see, where it's went, like all the other areas it's went into, other genres it's went into, where you have those more rap songs versus this.
Yeah.
I mean, the newer stuff, I'm still, but it's that's one thing I've really always enjoyed about that genre. I mean, for me. And I mean, Ty, he knows me well enough. I mean, a lot of people will see me and think, I'm more into like what I predominantly listen to is more like the metal, hardcore. But honestly, when I first really got into music on my own, I mean, when I was growing up, I had to listen to what my parents were playing. But when I first got into it was hip hop, like, early, R&B hip hop stuff like Tony and stuff like that, and it's crazy how much it's evolved in such a short time.
Right.
And that's one thing I really, artists like yourself, I mean, I love seeing what you do with it. The one question I did really have was kind of, you kind of alluded to, like, you took a step back now knowing that, like, from your first album to this one, what did you learn from that whole recording process? And obviously you went through a lot to where you decided to step back a little bit. What did you learn?
Well, first album was completely in-house. I mean, I had a studio set up in my house. A lot of the instrumentals were my own. And the biggest difference between 7 Day Project to this one, first of all, you're not going to find 7 Day Project anywhere. Like, it's just arguably not
look
that
up
great.
on eBay.
Yeah. It's especially not a physical copy. We did a re-release, I think in 2017, right before that album came out. We did like a limited 50 copy re-release. They sold. It was very difficult to find. Honestly, like 7 Day Project, I was learning how to rap, and it was very much. I was almost locked in complex rhyme schemes that don't necessarily make any sense. You know, some lyrical type of stuff, but doesn't necessarily make sense. I was locked into intricate flow, things like that. And so if you were to hear that album, it's really just very loose concepts with me rapping like I'm the greatest rapper in the world.
I've got a copy.
You're not?
You probably do have a copy,
I've got
yeah.
a copy of it.
'Cause-
Give you $50 for it.
That's it.
We'll just listen to
Just
it.
listen
Yeah,
to
then I'll burn the copy.
Yep. But, you know, 7-Day Project served its purpose, I mean, for sure. You know, but with this one, I really, like, I stepped away from that. One thing I've learned big time about the music industry is, you know, and forgive me for being too, you know, spiritual here, but you better humble yourself or God will do it for you. And that's what happened to me when I first was coming up. 7-Day Project, I mean, the title track for that one, 7-Day Project, is about me, I mean, comparing myself to God in the rap scene. Like, and it's ridiculous, honestly. I didn't work with a lot of different artists. I was honestly on some hating shit back then.
It happens.
Honest to God, yeah.
Well,
And like, because I was coming up in the Charlotte Underground, and again, this is me back then. This is a past perspective. I don't have it today, but
Yeah.
back then, you know, I'd walk into a venue like, best artist in here. Like, why am I opening? You know, that type of, which a lot, especially in hip hop, a lot of artists go through that, man. A lot of artists go through
a
that.
lot of them don't get out of it.
Very true. A lot of
Yeah.
them never get out of it, and that was kind of what happened. So, Wreck So came from more of a vulnerable place than 7-Day Project did. Because honestly, if you go back and listen to 7-Day Project, a lot of it is just mindless shit talking. Honestly,
I'm gonna have to listen to it again because
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
just I heard that and I listened to it several times, but it's been years, you know, and that hit me a little like more immediate than this did when I first heard this. So I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
What do you mean by that?
It just like I was vibing to it like a little bit easier
Gotcha.
than
Than
this.
that? Okay.
But that's my that's like watching a movie. Like
Right.
you watch it at that period of time in your life, which I was a different person then. Like maybe I was like this, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I was relating to that at that point. Now I might not be able to relate to it
Yeah.
now.
A different place, man, and
Yeah.
different world. Because that came out in 2013, so that'll be 10 years.
When was Eminem's Rap God? Because I want to say that might have been like an influence on like just MCs in general. Like, because there was like this God complex as soon as he dropped that. I remember like people like striving to, not saying you strive to, but just like, there was like, you know, and there's always like this, I'm better than you in rap.
It is.
Always.
Well,
It is.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of
A big
the
time.
beast.
Very
as they
alpha.
say.
Very, very
Yeah.
competitive.
Yeah.
Very competitive. Rap God was post this.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, Rap God was Marshall Mathers LP2.
Okay.
I don't know. Camera B, if you can look up when Marshall Mathers LP2 came out.
I think it was 2013.
Somewhere around there.
Was
yeah.
it? Okay.
Because I was in China. It was the one with the Sophia color.
Yeah.
Sophia.
Sephia.
Sophia.
Sephia. Say it with me now.
Sophia.
Sophia, yeah, I don't know.
No, it was not the black and white one, but when we went back to 8 Mile and he took the picture of him.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that one, okay.
Yeah.
So that was when I was in China. So like it had to be
Had to have been right that around,
yeah, around
that
that time, but not the same time. You know. It's
Well, I
like-
remember Recovery was out when I was making 7-Day
Okay.
Project.
Okay.
I
I'll look
remember
it
that.
up.
Recovery was out.
We have the technology.
Yeah. But
Shout out
but again,
technology.
So that first one was a lot of that. It was a lot of, shit talking. Basically, a lot of shit talking. And like one thing, if I could give advice to any,
How old were you then? Just kind of out of curiosity.
2013, I would have been 25. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I did. I mean, and when I first came up, I'm telling you, like, I'm just being honest. When I first came up in my music
25,
scene,
yeah.
I was like, I'm the best person here. Like that was my constant
Wow.
constant
Yeah.
vibe. And like, I lost a lot of
2013.
13.
Yeah.
Good job, Tom.
I just remember picking it up
Yeah.
in Shanghai.
Well, I definitely didn't.
Still got that copy?
I do.
Nice.
I do. It's a nice. I don't have like the wrapper that's outside because like after you take that wrapper off where it's got the Chinese writing on it,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just a regular
Yeah.
copy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
pretty much. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Mostly because they get it from Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is still like English.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So
But yeah, so the Wreck and Sew was my first time actually being somewhat vulnerable on a record.
that's what you gotta have. So from 25 to
Is that right? Am I doing the math right?
I don't know. How old are you now?
25 years old until
How the hell
this.
am I so old? All right.
Yeah.
So
Shut
I
your
believe
face.
I know. I believe it was a 5-year difference.
Okay.
I think, but that doesn't.
That's a
even
lot.
Sound right.
That's
That doesn't
a-
sound right. But
that's
yeah,
a lot.
but it was because that came out in 2017, and I think 7 Day
Yeah.
Project came out in 2013.
Well, that's
So 4
4 or
years.
5 years.
Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
You learn a lot
Yeah.
before you turn 30, like right before you turn
Oh, yeah.
30.
Oh yeah,
Like, you learn
Preach.
a lot,
Definitely.
yeah.
Preach.
but became vulnerable on that. Again, some of it is regular kind of, how you say.
Was that an intention, or did that just come out in the record?
I wasn't writing. A lot of those tracks weren't written for anyone but myself. And the writing process for 7 Day Project was not that way. And honestly, like, there's a reason why this is my favorite album that I've done. And I've done like 5. So this is still my favorite that I've done. Because a lot of those songs I was only writing for myself. I wasn't writing for a crowd.
Yeah.
So a lot of 7 Day Project I was writing, like, again, I was about to say that. Any advice I can give to rappers is stop rapping about rap music. And like, it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
do you want your fan base to be a bunch of rappers? Let me tell you why
If
that's a
you're
bad
Drake,
idea.
If you're Drake, yes. If you're already up there,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry.
No,
but
yeah, but if you're not,
Yeah.
bingo. If you're coming up, do you want your main fan base to be rappers?
No.
No. You know why? Because if Dr. Dre walked in somewhere and asked a rapper for anybody's album, who do you think he's going to give them? His own.
Yeah.
That's why am I wrong? That's why you don't.
Part of the culture.
Yeah, and so again, that 7 Day Project was very much I was writing about rap music, which is, I don't know why I did that, but Wreck and Sew, it's more personal stuff. It's like there's songs on there. 3 Names.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
going to
so
ask
track
about
number
that.
6 is
Yeah.
called 3 Names. Now 3 Names is a physical album exclusive. You can't find it online. And I don't know if y'all.
Well, then I'm
listen-
taking this.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
I want to
right.
hear that song.
No, have it, please.
I will
Yeah.
pay gladly.
3 Names. People who are like bigger fans of mine will consistently say that's their favorite song that I've ever done, but it's not something you can find online.
That's what I was about to say because when I was listening to
Yeah.
it again to redo it, it was on iTunes, and I don't remember. That was what I said. I don't remember this one.
Yep.
This is smart. This is smart. That's what I love about you because you always do something like that. Go ahead with it.
Yeah. So 3 Names is an album exclusive, but in my mind, without that song, the album that you get online is not a full album without that song on it. And like the Why Did You Have to Go is beautiful song with Mariah.
Right.
Beautiful song. I don't know, man. I'm proud of like almost every track on that album. I'm like so proud of.
It should be.
Like thank you. The writing on it is a different kind of level. I was writing it for myself. I was writing it. I was more in the poetry mind state when I wrote it. Like, Why Did You Have to Go sounds very simple. If you're, it's not like a radio hit, but the rhyme scheme in that is poetry,
Yeah.
and both verses match, and it's like that. And there's several of them like that. I could sit here and talk to you for an hour about Long Way Down. That's my favorite song I ever wrote.
You still perform this
Yeah.
a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll do several of these. So the ones I do Hands Up. I open every single
Marshall Alexander at the
yeah.
end. That's
I open every single show with Hands Up. I do Reckon So pretty frequently. Cocky Little Freak, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I close my sets. And I do Long Way Down as like encores. If people ask for an encore, I'll do Long Way Down. But yeah, I mean, the writing in that is good.
So expand on why did you have to go? Like just go into.
So
the
why did you
detail.
go? Okay, so the writing on Why Did You Have to Go?
Just not the writing, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
meaning.
The meaning?
Yeah, like just
So
dive into that.
I got you. So it's written from the perspective of someone who is going through a breakup, essentially, and someone who put a lot of effort into a relationship and it ended up collapsing, right? And so there's actually a lot of
Cheers.
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 So there's a lot of God, dude. Like, why did you have to go? And Demon Dance really go hand in hand. Why Did You Have to Go is about that type of relationship. Like the bridge says, God, how does the bridge go? I gave you my heart and I gave you my mind. Sorry that I couldn't do more for you. And then it's like, I'd rip out my tongue just to hear you talk. Sorry I couldn't do more for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that type of situation. But the rhymes, I mean, you just have to listen to it and understand what it's doing. But it I don't know. It's not very cohesive what I'm saying,
No,
but
I understand. We understand
yeah.
what you're saying. Like it's just that's a beautiful part of this is because we want to listen to it beforehand,
right?
and then we want to hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
and then listen to it again. And so was the old girl kind of like you started laughing already,
Yeah.
but was it subconsciously a supplement to Why Did You Have to Go?
I won't deny that.
Okay.
I won't deny that. So, yeah. Old Girl, again, it was absolute unscripted.
Right.
My brother was playing some music and I was just singing whatever came to mind, and that's what came to mind with Old Girl. But I won't deny that.
You place yourself in that, but
Yeah.
more playful.
Right.
And then here we go with Demon
Bingo.
Dance right after that.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. And so Old Girl was a great, and because also Three Names is the heaviest piece of material I've ever written.
See, that's why I'm embarrassed to say that one I need to talk about extendedly because I want to go back and listen to that because he's very, very particular and strategic with the way he does things. We filmed a whole video for Whiskey and Lies and we only put it on a DVD.
Yep.
And it was only available. It's still only available.
On
like
the
just
DVD.
things like that.
Yeah.
We can revisit that at some point.
She said I ain't never met a man like you who can make me laugh but turn me on too. One who might make me wanna say I do. I said I'm allergic to bullshit. I chew. I Will Smith and she rolled a swisher. I know you don't smoke, but let this contact hit you. And I did, but now I'm wishing that I didn't. Cause now whenever I smell the ganja, I think of the time that I was with her. And that's the funny thing about the sense of smell. It's got a way of taking you back when them sins prevail. I'm right back in that front seat, kissing well. Let's keep the name a secret for now, cause Mr. says we was playing 21 Questions. Radio was playing Led Zeppelin. Had a bottle of Jack Daniels in my hand, and she was coming on strong, but probably picturing another man.
Well, sometimes I wonder why, even though I never tried, I just can't help but picture her eyes. Must be that smell, oh, that sweet smell of whiskey and lime.
Never met a man, I never met a man, never met a man, I never
quite as deep as you do. Who can make it last but keep it so smooth? It's like I got an itch in my soul that you soothe. And when we kissed, like everything just slipped away. It was like my mind drifted to another place, instantly manifested into a distant sea, where there was nothing in the world except her and me. And looking back now, it was laughable. We both had others, but being together wasn't passable. And though calling it love might have been admirable, we were just so damn sexually compatible. She just lied right next to me, and I lied right back. That was the recipe. Lying and telling ourselves we'd never need another. Lying in bed, lying to each other.
Well, sometimes I wonder why, even though I never tried, I just can't help but picture her eyes. Must be that smell, oh, that sweet smell of whiskey and lime.
Never met a man, I never met a man, never met a man, I never met a man, never met a man, like you. I never met a man, never met a man, I never met a man, never met a man, I never met a man, never met a man, like you.
When I told her it was over, our time was tearing apart. Far from sober, went to hold her, but now I'm bearing the mark. Didn't think that it would hurt sitting alone in that car. I got a tear in my shirt, but she got a tear in her heart. And now the memories are come and go, and I smell empty bottles in my soul. Cause the sin of whiskey, it'll always be bold. And I've always wondered why, but now I know.
Well, sometimes I wonder why, even though I never tried, I just can't help but picture her eyes. Must be that smell, oh, that sweet smell of whiskey and lime.
Like that.
Yeah.
We can revisit that at some point.
Yeah.
By the way.
I love
But-
that.
oh, thank
I love
you.
that.
It's like you know, the cojones to do that is
Yeah.
very admirable.
Well, it's staying true to your vision. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
speaking. I don't want to speak for you, but I mean, that I've always respected that with any type of artist. You know, if they stay true to what their vision is and what they want, nothing but respect
Right.
and mad love. I mean, for sure.
This is how I felt about it. Anybody can go online and go on YouTube and find some stuff, right? Who's going to listen to your album? A fan.
Mhm.
Only a fan is going to listen to.
Who's going to go to the merch table and
buy
that?
the album? A supporter. 3 Names is a level that I don't just want a casual listener.
Yeah.
I just don't care for a casual listener to hear.
Mm.
Because it's
I mean,
because it's that.
Not taking away from the casual listener.
No. But
But I
still.
mean, it's
That's
exactly
so
what you want.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yep.
Man.
And in
And-
this day and age, I mean, I'm not trying to again
Yep.
speak for you, but or any artist, but I mean, this day and age, that's where you set yourself apart.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you recall this, but we were that close to doing that with that last track on Grieving Process. We were
Yeah,
that
yeah.
close to it being an album
Yeah,
physical album
yeah.
exclusive. That
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
We ended up not doing that,
Right.
but we were that close
Yeah.
because it's just
It's very personal.
very, very personal.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about this one, so I don't want to talk
No,
about
it's-
all the other
yeah,
art
yeah.
works, but yeah, 3 Names extremely heavy and true. Now just know that too. Reckon So, every word in that album is real and true and from the heart. Everything.
With our previous conversation before we even did this about power, it makes so much more sense in this. Because with me, we were talking about the seriousness of the art that I create.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when it comes off as something like the too aggressive or not necessarily like a little freak, but things like that, I'm like, it just, to me, as a tunnel vision listener, distracts me.
Yeah.
But when I listen to you, when I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
especially with the power that we
Mhm.
were talking about earlier, and now we're talking about this, it really, like, I appreciate when somebody has a vision and they have a blueprint of what they want.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot more sense to me that you're speaking about it, to appreciate the art of it, and appreciate that you said 7-day project is nothing but this.
Yeah.
Like you've differentiated it to me.
Absolutely.
This is this, but if you catch me doing a couple things like that on here, there's a reason behind it.
Right.
So that's why I like it.
Right. The song Reckon So, it's the title track. That's a good example of that because there's some, I don't want to say generic, but there's some subliminal shit talking bars in that, you know. I mean, I'm a rapper.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to talk a little shit.
Got to.
That
Rapper 101.
that feature coming up on Brown Bag.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that instrumental and I was like,
yeah.
I'm back on my bullshit, you know? Like, I love it.
You've got. I mean, you have to channel that. You have to channel your past, present, and future at all times. I mean, it doesn't have to be like in your words, but you have to channel that at all times when you're creating art.
I'll tell you this. I'll put it to you like this. Reckon So, because of when it came out, is the most transparently me work I've put out. Because before that was 7-Day Project, and that was really, I was just learning how to do stuff. It's also like 4 years worth of work put onto one album.
It's usually a solo.
Your first
debut.
Yeah,
solo
the
album,
debut is very typical of that. But it's like 4 years worth of stuff put together. It's very just shit talking type of thing. Reckon So, again, when I started doing that, I didn't think I was going to perform again. Like, I had really kind of burnt bridges in Charlotte, and I just did not think I was going to.
They got bridges down in Charlotte.
Well, yeah. But I didn't think I was. I mean, when I made that music, it was more like I didn't think I was going to perform it. You know, I was going to be for whoever wanted to listen to it. But what's funny, you mentioned "Cocky Little Freak." That's the song that everybody latched onto, and that is like the least. It's like the shallowest song on that album. It really is.
It's time to try a new weapon. Mom and Dad knew I was a showing ass cause I was a my entire class knew I was a all you had to do was ask I was a all the boys knew I was a stole the toys cause I was a my ex-girl knows that I'm a the whole world knows that I'm a just a baby boy, couldn't walk, couldn't speak, but everybody knew I'd be a cocky little freak type dude that picks a different chick about a nights a week. Streaks through the streets with just the socks up on his feet. Mock's a little speech, I can never get the right words. Tell him how I felt when I stole my little white bird. And you wondered why I had to stay and fight first. Probably cause my balls were too big for my diapers. Never get to rep the city, autograph selected titties. More of that is destined in me, gripping on this mic burn. Down to competition really without any reconciliation. As the best of many flipping as the lights turn. Yeah, just turn them towards me. And everybody take turns jumping at your seat. Come on, hands up all over the streets. Bobby little heads with this cocky little freak. Yeah, mom and dad knew I was a showing ass cause I was a my entire class knew I was a all you had to do was ask I was a all the boys knew I was a stole the toys cause I was a my ex-girl knows that I'm a the whole world knows that I'm a smooth like a street pave. Ladies wanna see me disappoint them, they don't know I'm pimpin' since a pre-K. Itching like the fleas, they scratching like a DJ. They don't want them, they don't know I'm playing them in threes. They came up and said, hey, we want your ball. I said, I got two more, yo, that's one for all. They said, oh, can we see? Man, I told them no, but I'll show you mine if you show me y'all. So they dropped the draws, but there was nothing there. Said, check your shirt, they threw them up in the air. Butt naked for me, just like the shit was catered. And that same damn trick working 20 years later. So come on, ladies, to the front of the stage, side by side like you're running a race. And pull the bottom of your shirts to the top of your face, and I'll show you how I ball while you wiggling things. Come on. Mom and dad knew I was a showing ass cause I was a my entire class knew I was a all you had to do was ask I was a all the boys knew I was a stole the toys cause I was a my ex-girl knows that I'm a the whole world knows that I'm a like two socks with the Star Fox lunchbox, bowl cut with the rolled up pop rocks, polo shirt
shirt, but the buttons ain't there. Hand me down, tucked into my Ninja Turtle underwear. Shades on like a bad motherfucker. It ain't matter, got them bitches from my grandmother.
Now, mind you, dude,
But it draws people to that album.
it does. But again, Reckon So was meant, and especially at this time, I was an album purist. I wasn't going to listen to one song. I was going to listen to the whole thing front to back. That's how the artist wanted to be heard. Not the case anymore. A lot of people aren't like that anymore. But I want to listen to the whole thing front and back. And so the idea back then that Cocky Little Freak would be like the thing that everyone knows from that album is crazy, you know? But as I was saying, so Cocky Little Freak, really what people latched onto, and it honestly gave me a lane that I kind of picked up and ran with. So the works past that, now Grieving Process is a different thing. Grieving Process is very therapeutic, different thing. But like Bad Habits is really the next LP that I put out. Grieving Process EP, the acoustic album's an EP. But if you go from 7 Day Project to Reckon So to Bad Habits, Reckon So is really like the most real of those three. Bad Habits, I mean, I'm talking about some real stuff in there, but it's, when I was writing for Bad Habits, I was specifically writing, okay, what's going to be good on stage? My whole writing had changed by the time it came to Bad Habits, because 7 Day Project, I was just coming up in the scene, I was young. Reckon So, I was not doing anything as far as music, and then Bad Habits, I was, you know, in my mind, I was on top of the world, you know, and I was writing for a different purpose for Bad Habits.
It's kind of interesting to hear you talk about from the, you know, the initial track where you were at, you know, you take them back, and then to hear you talk about you literally just put your basically heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
And to hear you talk about how that gave you the lane.
That's true.
And it's kind of, you know, goes back to what you were saying, what you were like, why ain't I got this? Why ain't I got that? And then you just spilled your heart out, and that's
true.
what took you off.
That is true. Now, I don't know if Cocky Little Freak is me pouring my heart out, but...
Well, I mean, and honestly, that was the other thing. And also, you know, from what our conversation here, you know, and actually seeing the physical copy and, you know, seeing...
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that was one thing that caught me on my initial, you know, listen, was like, it honestly reminded me of like the typical comedy tragedy. Like, you know, and now seeing it split up. And I was like, because there were songs, you know, that I could tell were coming from that place. But then you throw that Cocky Little Freak and you're like, ha 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 ha. That's that comedy side, you know? And it's awesome to see, you know, exactly, and to know that's what you wanted. I mean...
Well, funny about Cocky
Get the physical copy.
Thank you so much.
Your Cocky Little Freak didn't really define you, but I think it let you get your balance to where you could pull your 7
That's
day.
a great, man, that's a
your
great...
7 day.
That's a great
and you
point.
can pull this, and
That's-
you can
yeah.
do Bad Habits.
You're right. That's a good point, because without Cocky Little Freak, I definitely could not have, you know... I wrote Cocky Little... Okay, so I'm going to go too deep here.
That's what we're here for.
So Cocky Little Freak, originally when I was in that hiatus of nobody's messing with me, and, you know, I really fell on my face, that was like I said, I was humbled. My initial, my first rap project was with another dude from my hometown, and this was 2003, so this was on some, you know,
So you were like
fuck
9?
bitches, get the money, all that shit, you know, like that's all it was, you know.
I
And
don't
so,
care what you heard about me.
yes, exactly.
We haven't heard anything about you yet.
Yeah, and
this is literally our first time hearing about you.
And so, I mean,
What are you talking about?
all right, so I'll just put it to you like this. All right, so we did 4 songs. Me and his name was LeVar. We did 4 songs. The first one we did was called.
It's a good name.
It was yeah. So everybody knows, and I mean it was walking through the door, walking in slow. Everybody know, you know, like just some regular. And I was like, everybody, dude. Anyway, but it's just, you know. And then so we had one called "Ride This Comet."
Whoa.
That
Which was
might
like,
work.
it was
that
like,
might work
it was
now.
like, it was like,
that might work
get up
today.
on this, get up on this, get up on this, girl. Get up on this comet, I will take you round the world.
It works now.
I feel a little innuendo there.
Yeah, a little
for
bit.
some weird reason.
And so And like I was this.
That's real comics.
Yes, real. Yeah. And I was like, and the dynamic was so cool because like I was like this metaphorical guy, and LeVar was just like my verse was like, I want to take you across the stars, and and all this shit, and go through the Milky Way. LeVar's like, I want you, baby, and them big ass titties. Let me throw you down, fuck you gently. Like,
Can I get this anywhere?
No,
Physical
I
copy.
wish I could, but it is fucking gone.
Uh,
If anyone hears this and can get me that shit, please,
Please.
I want it so bad.
we all need it for the better,
Yes, dude.
for the
It's
betterment
so-
of
society.
so
You know,
good.
for the betterment
Yep.
of society.
And then the other one was Bitch, You Don't Know Me. And the fourth song was called Bottom Feeder. I mean, it was like the most fucking 2003 shit ever.
Yeah.
And so, Cocky Little Freak, this gives you some perspective.
And you were like 16?
Nah, 17,
Nine.
17, 18.
All right.
Cocky Little Freak was supposed to be, he and I were gonna reunite.
So, okay.
So Cocky Little Freak was
Where's
the,
LeVar now?
he's working at like Chili's or something back home.
LeVar,
LeVar.
get out of the kitchen. Get back on stage.
Yeah.
Fuck him gently.
Yeah. It was so good because he was like, I want to throw you down and fuck you gently. We used to give him so much shit about that. But so Cocky Little Freak, again, it was supposed to be like the reunion of he and I. We were going to do a little EP together. Because I was like, no one wants to hear me by myself. Maybe if I bring him back, the old fans will chip back in. Because, we had a tiny, we never did a show or anything. But we had a tiny little, we had a tiny little buzz. Things fell through with him and our producer at the time. But yeah, so Cocky Little Freak was like that. And also, this is going to sound stupid, but this is the truth. I wrote that song with 0 sexual innuendo in it. 0! And it wasn't until it was out, and I was at work, I was manager at a retail building in Salisbury, when one of my employees came up. This girl came up and she said, I heard your song, Cocky Little Freak. Is it true?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's true. She was like, so you are a freak. And it wasn't until that moment that I was like, oh, shit.
That's what you clicked on?
Yeah, because to me, I was writing it about being a little kid. Cocky little freak, and it's, just a baby boy, couldn't walk, couldn't speak. But everybody knew I'd be a cocky little freak. And so it was about me being a little shithead. And in the bridge, like, that's the thing. It's all this braggadocious shit. In the bridge, I'm actually showing you that I was a complete dork. Like, if you actually listen, like, the 2 verses, I'm like, yeah, and all these women and the titties and shit. In the bridge, in the fucking bridge, I'm like...
Didn't you say 0 innuendo?
Well, that's not an innuendo.
No,
It's just
yeah.
straight up.
No, I know.
I said, what did I say?
That was the point.
Yeah, but it was about, again, it was, in my perspective, it was about being a little shithead. Like it's pimping since the pre-K. Shit like that.
Well, freak really meant differently
Yes.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
different stages
Yes.
of life.
Life, yeah.
You know, so
And like, I just never thought, like, I never made it a sexual song. Never. And then it became this big, like,
Yeah.
my whole persona for like 2 years was like a freak. And
Well-
and I mean, the follow-up song on Bad Habits, which whenever we talk about that, have fun listening to that one, is a song called Like I Hate You,
Yeah.
which is the most sexual shit ever. And so it's just funny to see the way that it went. But yeah, man, the bridge of Cocky Little Freak, I'm like, white tube socks, Star Fox lunchbox, I got a bowl cut, rolled up Pop Rocks. So I talk about tucking my hand-me-downs into my underwear. Like, I was telling you that I was actually a complete dork. But anyway. That's maybe why it stands out so much, because it was
That
that's
kind
what
of
I was
works,
working for.
because, some people might consider that a freak.
That's true. That's true.
That's the beautiful thing of art. Like,
Yeah.
people can look at something and
Yep.
it can be the total opposite of what you created in your mind.
Yeah.
And you can't tell them no.
Yep.
You can't. Do you have no right to say
Right.
that's not what this
Very
means?
true. Very
Go
true.
ahead and open up
Very
your heart.
true.
Open
Absolutely.
up your mind.
Very
you know?
true.
This is what, if it touches you this way.
Very
hey,
true.
You know.
Yep. But Cocky Little Freak, yeah. So there was a little bit of, pizzazz there. I don't know.
Yes.
But just know, on the record, that song was never about sex. Never. It was never about how I'm a sexual freak or anything. It's just what people took and ran with it. You good?
You
Yeah,
need to
we're
take a
good.
pause?
Okay.
But
What time?
we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say about that?
I mean, I'm telling you, I could go on all day about that album. I'm
Okay.
really proud of it.
Save it for another show.
That's good.
Yeah.